Hi, welcome to
deathf4rt,
and this is my review of Esto no es un show by weed420. I'm reading off a script, so my eyes are going to be going crazy all around, so sorry if I'm ignoring you, don't feel insecure. I've gotten incredibly into electronic music in 2026, which has been kind of really out of left field. Like I've never really been into electronic music, and I've always been like more attracted to like DIY house show spaces. But I've been living in Chicago since like 2023, and I feel like I've been finally seeing the city for what it is. Like I've been going to raves and like enjoying the nightlife, and I feel like I'm finally going to raves and enjoying the nightlife instead of just like idly waiting for the Kansas City punk scene to reveal itself in a place where it doesn't exist. I can accredit this mostly to my friends and the community here, but I also need to credit weed420 for this. This is like definitely the most important discovery that I had from last year. And yeah, no, I don't know, kind of unquestionably. Esto no es un show is a dramatic, ominous, plotting, gritty, compressed, post-rock, post-electronic, post-modern, post-everything, like tour de force. And it's so entirely necessary in our current landscape of music. So the band is comprised of like 3 kids on computers and another one playing guitar. At least this is my understanding. Whenever I look at how many people are in this band, it's like 1 million people. But whenever I see live footage of them, it's that, and this is a live album, so I just assume that's who's here on this record. At no point in their sound does it sound like the band is utilizing like any really fancy gear. Like the kid on the guitar, like it can't be any nicer than like some Squier Stratocaster. And I feel like that's what gives it so much more power. It innately speaks to like this all too familiar Gen Z experience of being extremely poor, and the only resources at our fingertips are like these fucking computers and a dying economy. What I think weed420 is exceptional at is tapping into the like wealth of power that exists within computers for those of us with the like ambition to like really crack it open and figure it out, whether that be like literally on a programming level or like spiritually on like an ideological level, which I feel like weed420 falls more into the latter. I feel like the best 2 words I can think of are emotionally thrilling. Like its textures are simple in their technical craft, but they are maximally layered to a very grandiose effect. And it's like with 3 kids operating their own electronic setup simultaneously, they're able to collide synth leads, power electronics, YouTube to MP3 quality samples, beeps and boops, into like this fiery gothic wall of sound. And as a result, these simple ideas become very ideologically distinct, and it sounds like flying cars in a horrible car accident. Like these song compositions are so massive and they're always moving. I'm such a sucker for the quiet loud dynamic, and weed420 is definitely one of those bands that doesn't see the quiet as simply build-ups to the loud. So like every moment on this thing feels so dramatic and so important and so inventive. There's also like a punk-like expressionism to the musicianship. The existential scope of everything still maintains this raw attitude thanks to the very like just like shabby puttering kind of musicianship happening here, right? Like you can hear when there are like mistakes, but to me that like accentuates the emotion.
Punk rock should mean freedom, liking and accepting anything that you like, playing whatever you want, as sloppy as you want, as long as it's good and it has passion.
Like I honestly, I don't know, this sounds dramatic, but like these kids from Venezuela feel like the future in ways which sound like fresh, authentic, and true, which is like a spark that you scarcely hear in rock albums, like especially within the last like couple decades. Like, I can really only think of like maybe those like early Black Country New Road bootlegs that like really like spoke to that thing. A very important distinction I need to make is that creating something that is derivative is not of value, right? I completely think that we are all speaking to each other in art. We are not chasing this idea, this idealistic sort of item that we can create that is so pure, so distilled, because that is also capitalism, to try to strive to make something that is entirely unique, entirely fresh, entirely new. However, I think what I'm trying to say is that this American rock music is incredibly cis white and like has been focused so much on revival and not as much on innovation. That is not to undermine like queer and BIPOC rock artists that have been present within the last 2 decades, but is more to say that a lot of the momentum in rock music that I'm speaking to is derivative and is coming from the voice of like cis white people. You know what I mean? You get it. And I think that, as you know, as boomer as that sounds, I think that there's something really special about doing things with modern tools that feel now, that feel like they can only be said right now in this moment. As much as I love like emo revival or like shoegaze revival or like indie music that harkens back to that like 90s bedroomy like Belle and Sebastian sound, well, I don't want to say that in revivals don't exist baby steps in innovation. I think that sometimes these revivals can come with this romanticism for the aesthetic sensibilities of these sounds without fully understanding or like interrogating the socio-political landscape that led to these sounds existing in the first place. Weed420 is using tools inextricable from the plastic digital age that we're in right now, and whether intentional or not, they are operating with these tools with a similar spark of like modernity that is what makes these bands of yesteryear so attractive in the way that they are cultivating the sound of fucking shoegaze or like emo. It's because when they made these sounds, it was because it was the sound of their place, of their time. I've been trying to figure out how to best articulate this point for so fucking long. I've been doing retakes, and the sun is fucking down. To cite the like indie electronic movement of like that initial boom of like the early 2000s, late 90s, where like electronics, like specifically computers and rock music, were being like combined for like the first real time. There was definitely like a sense of like wide-eyed excitement for the coming digital age that is like so evident in the sounds that were being cultivated with those tools at that time. Nowadays, a lot of rock music that I hear that's cultivated within the DAW, there's like a certain dishonesty within it that is hard for me to like fuck with. This is the machine that keeps the billionaires in their bunker and that's draining us slowly like vampires in the form of like fucking passive income. This machine is not here to excite us anymore, if it ever was. It's here to control us, and when we all can't afford eggs, it's the only thing that we have. In so much modern bedroom rock, I feel like the DAW is almost like engaged with as like this Weekend at Bernie's corpse of the recording studio. And we're kind of playing into this trick when we're ignoring the ugly elephant in the room, which is that we are all alone. And the only way that we can emulate the feeling of being in a band is to create a pretend one within the computer using drum samples and overdubs. And weed420 is a band that feels like it's saying like,
fuck that. Like, just because we can't afford a drum kit and we can't play too loud because it'll bother our neighbors, and we're not living in the fucking suburbs of Illinois where we can make cat jazz. That doesn't mean that we can't be in a punk band.
You know? And so they're using these tools collectively. They're using their computers individually and collectively in, you know, a way that people have been doing in the 70s, but it's to create a sound that feels so important to right now. I'm just going to read it exactly as I wrote it because I think I said it good. Esto no es un show is a collection of songs from the ruins, the abandoned, cold ruins into which we scream our lungs out. It's a scream of hope, of solidarity. It's a scream for others to hear the sound of the beating heart in a globally oppressive Western society which nourishes itself on our individualism and rewards individualism promptly. Yeah. When I avoided electronic music, I didn't really understand this, although this is something that has been present in electronic music in America since the fucking beginning. I resented the computer for all the reasons I've been talking about this whole video, and I didn't really see the strength in embracing it, especially for something that feels as soulful as music. And I feel like to reject that entirely, to reject the computer entirely, is just as dishonest as to engage with the DAW in a dishonest way. May the broken asphalt be my sword, goddammit. May we tear the wires out from these terrible machines and sculpt the rhythm of our community, the pulse which keeps us sweating in these cramped, derelict apartments on Grand Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, 60651, motherfucker. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is really a triumph, and I think that you need to listen to it soon if you haven't yet. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Bye!